Hello and welcome to News Up Now. I'm Gleidson Martins in San Francisco. Today, my guest is very, very special. He's an actor, comedian, writer, and he was the head writer for Joan Rivers on Fashion Police show on E! Entertainment. Tony Tripoli, how are you, my friend?
Hey, it's so nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Last time I saw you was a couple of years ago in Puerto Vallarta.
Yeah, Puerto Vallarta is just the most magical, wonderful place. I love it. I love going there. I'm actually going to be going again in August, and I just can't wait. You know, they've been hit particularly hard by this whole COVID thing. They rely on tourism almost exclusively, and I have so many friends that work in hospitality and entertainment there, and they've had just, nothing this year. And so I can't wait to go down there and spend some money.
Good. That's good for you and good for them. So
Yeah,
yeah, we are producing Star for Puerto Vallarta, so soon it's going to be online.
great.
So you start as an actor, and I was watching a couple of videos of you on YouTube, and you were very thankful for the women that brought you to the business. So do you think man wasn't like really sure about your work?
I mean, my whole life is a story of strong women believing in me. I mean, I joke I'm a comedian now as my job, and I joke on stage that, women are, everything good in my life is because of a woman. I was raised by my mother and, my sister. So all my life, I've always wiped front to back, like exclusively. Like, do you know what I mean? That's how much women mean to me. But yeah, I really started as a singer more than anything, and then did that as a kid, and then went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts for college, which is like college with a K. It's not really smart person college, and then I immediately, the first job I got after going to this really fancy acting school was to go work at Tokyo Disneyland and be a prince with Snow White and Sleeping Beauty and Cinderella. My job was literally waving. Like, that was the job.
Just waving. I'm sure you got a lot of attention, my friend.
It was a really fun job.
How you were dealing with the pandemic?
I live in Arizona, and we are a state, we are not great participators. We don't even do daylight saving time. Like, we are hard to convince. So getting a lot of people here in town to wear a mask is a fight. And it's just like, I don't understand these people at the grocery store that refuse to wear a mask. And it's like, well, didn't you wear a seatbelt when you were driving here? So like, it's kind of the same thing, you asshole.
Yes, it is actually. I never heard it that way before, but I couldn't
Yeah.
agree more. You worked with Joan Rivers. One of the, I think one of the E executives went to one of your shows. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, yes. So first of all, I have to start by saying she's here with us, because right over my shoulder, you see that egg. Her ashes are in there. So
Wow.
you can tell people you interviewed Joan Rivers, because here she is. But yeah, what happened was I was doing stand up, and the executive producers of the show The Soup with Joel McHale were fans of my stand up, and they were starting a female version of The Soup that was going to be called The Dish, and they asked if I would be a writer on that show. And so that was how I got into television writing, and I was a producer and a writer on that show, and I had done that for about 3 years. And one day I was sitting at my desk, and the phone rang, and it was the publicity department at E! And they said, Joan Rivers, we're bringing back Fashion Police, hosted by Joan Rivers, and she doesn't like any of the promos that we have written. And she says to get 3 funny gay guys to Melissa's house tomorrow. I went to her house that next day, and I had stayed up all night writing little jokes. And I remember the first time that I made her laugh, I had said, Fashion Police, just because it zips doesn't mean it fits. And she thought that was fun. And after like 10 minutes of me pitching all these jokes, she says, I need to talk to you in the kitchen. And there were 2 other, guys there that were pitching jokes too. And so I thought, oh, am I in trouble or something? And we got in the kitchen, and she said, you're my new head writer. We need to get rid of these 2 assholes, and you and I are going to write this script. And literally that day, she changed my life. And for the next 5 years, I was with her, 3 or 4 days a week. And she asked me if I would be her opening act on the road. So I got to open for Joan Rivers in 5,000 seat theaters in the United States and in England. I mean, we had so many adventures, and I had so many hours with her, both on stage, but also just sitting quietly in the green room, getting ready to go on. Because, as a showbiz person, most of what we do is waiting to go on and do the thing that everyone thinks we do all the time. And so I have so many memories of just sitting with her when she was just an 81-year-old old Jewish lady sitting there, and she would hold my hand. She would put her hand on top of my hand and like rub the top of my hand, like in a very grandmotherly way. And, she was always saying, let me give you $5. I was like, I don't need $5. You pay me a lot of money. I don't need $5. But, she couldn't help herself. She was such a little old lady. She was such a Jewish grandmother. And then she would go on stage and just become like this tiger. And, she was just a wild animal. And then she would come off stage and put her reading glasses and her slippers back on and kind of be this old lady again. Like it was so fantastic.
Here's what I have on my hands.
The book. Yep. I have one on that shelf, actually, that she would write, inscriptions to me. And, one of them says, oh, Tony, thank you for all the jokes. The book is only funny because of you. Like, no, I don't think so. I think the book would have been funny without me, but I'm glad if I was helpful.
So you said something during one of your interviews, I think it was in 2011, my friend. You said you're glad you didn't become that famous before you met Joan Rivers. Why?
Yeah, listen,
why did you say that?
I'm not famous, at all.
Well,
but I'm really grateful.
Well known.
Oh, you're very kind to say that. But I'm really grateful that I didn't have anyone ever notice me and go, oh, is that guy that's on that TV show or whatever, until I was into my 40s, because I would have destroyed my career. If I had gotten any kind of success in show business in my 20s, I would have been a disaster. I wouldn't have, I would have messed it up, because what I learned having an opportunity to see that a little later in life was to really be grateful for how rare it is. It is really, really hard to get anyone to notice you. There are millions of people on the internet and on YouTube and doing shows and on television and movies. And so if anyone ever goes, oh, are you the guy from whatever, that's a pretty big deal. And it is always thrilling anytime anyone ever walks up to me and says, oh, are you that comedy guy? Or did you used to be on Joan Rivers' TV show? And, as soon as they do, I just go, yes, what do you want to know about Joan? I'll tell you anything. I have a million stories. I love talking about her.
Tell me something. Who was her favorite actress or actor, and the worst one?
She loved Angelina Jolie. She just thought Angelina Jolie was the modern day version of an Olivia de Havilland or a Carole Lombard, or, she goes, she is an old Hollywood glamorous star, but in this moment. Joan really resented when she would see celebrities that acted like they didn't care about it. And she was like, I love that Angelina Jolie shows you how hard she's working. She loved J-Lo for the same reason. She goes, J-Lo's not the greatest singer. She's not the greatest actress, but she works harder than anyone. And she lets you know when she's on a red carpet, she lets you know that she spent 12 hours getting ready and getting every hair done and the mink eyelashes and the makeup and cinched into the dress. She goes, I want to see a celebrity that is working to earn my attention. Joan famously had a rivalry with Chelsea Handler, the comedian, who was also on E! At the same time as Fashion Police. And Joan just, I guess it was a generational thing. She resented that Chelsea's act is, oh, I'm so hungover from drinking so much vodka last night and I don't have any jokes prepared. when, of course, they were prepared jokes, and that was just sort of Chelsea's character. But Joan just was so offended that anyone would act like they had just rolled out of bed and come to star in this television show. It was like a generational thing. She couldn't get past it. But she loved Amy Schumer. So, I mean, I don't know. But yeah, Joan was a huge fan of women in comedy. She would always say, show me new things. Like, she didn't realize that Amy Schumer had the Comedy Central sketch program. She knew her as a stand-up, but she didn't know that she had this TV show. And so I would show her Amy Schumer episodes, and Joan would just sit there with tears rolling down her face, just laughing.
Who's your favorite and what is the worst for you on Hollywood scene?
Oh, I will tell you that I think that Joan got to interview Jennifer Lopez the day that she got her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And they do like a press junket, right? And so there was a suite at the W Hotel, which was right where her star was, right on the sidewalk in front of the W Hotel in Hollywood. And they had done, a suite. And basically, as you know, you just get to come in and you get like a 5-minute window with her. She's just sort of sitting there with her lighting, and you get 5 minutes, and then the next interviewer comes in. So we had a very little time, and I would always lay just under the camera shot on the ground so that I could whisper questions to Joan, because she didn't really like to hold notes, and she didn't like cue cards because her eyes weren't great. And so I would just whisper the next question to her, and then she would ask it, and they would edit out the part where I was whispering to her. So I remember I had to lay on the ground with my head underneath J-Lo's giant dress. And I remember thinking, wow, every man on the planet wishes they could be looking up Jennifer Lopez's dress right now. And it's totally lost on me. But I will tell you, she was the most beautiful person I have ever seen in person in my life.
Worst?
Snooki. Snooki was the biggest asshole we ever had on Fashion Police. She was such a dick. And Joan said, she goes, it's always going to be the reality people. They're always going to be the biggest assholes. And when you get an actual star, they're lovely to deal with. And it was true 100% of the time. But we brought Snooki on Fashion Police our first year that we did a Halloween episode. And my idea was that Joan would go as Snooki.
Welcome back to a bananas edition of Fashion Police. And now the moment we have all been waiting for. Come on out, Snooki!
We would have Snooki interrupt the show wearing the exact same dress as Joan, and she would say, bitch, you stole my look, because we played that game, Bitch Stole My Look. So we fly Snooki out. We have to fly her assistant, first class. We have to put him up in a nice hotel. And we taped the show at 8:30 in the morning. And so it's like 8 a.m. when Snooki comes to the set. And the first thing she does is she demands that one of our PAs go and buy her a case of beer.
Oh my God.
So we're trying to find beer at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday morning. And then Snooki demands that we only call her Nicole. And I'm like, well, we sent 2 first-class tickets to Snooki. So I'm going to need fucking Snooki to show up on this show. And then she had flat-ironed her hair and was wearing it down. But the wig that we had made for Joan was Snooki's, the famous bump that she always wore on Jersey Shore. So I go to her dressing room and I go, hey, Nicole, my name is Tony. I'm the gay guy that had this idea. And I need you to put your hair like in the bump so that you match. And she like refused to do it. And so we're like all freaking out. So I said, give me one more chance. I go back to her dressing room and I said, I need everybody out. and I kicked everyone out of her dressing room, and it was just Snooki and me. And I got in her face and I said, listen to me. For every gay guy that was ever nice to you before you were famous, when you were just some trashy girl in New Jersey that no guy wanted to dance with, when those gay guys were nice to you, I am calling in the favor now. You owe me as a gay guy to put your hair in that fucking bump it. Because if you don't, I am going to lose my job and it's going to be your fault. And she went, okay.
Well done.
10 minutes
Well
later.
done. And you are in a relationship right now.
Yes, my boyfriend and I just had our 1-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. We've been going out for, I guess, about 9 months. And I was like, what do you think maybe about moving in? And then he moved in. And then a week later, the lockdown happened. So that was not good timing. Let me just say, to go from just starting to move in together to being trapped in the house 24 hours a day together for 2 months. So, I'm just grateful that I don't have a dead body in my trunk because I have almost killed him.
Hey, but I thought you were going to say the opposite. Was thankfully I have him, to share these 2 months with me.
No, I keep a space next to Joan's ashes for his.
That's amazing. Is he from Phoenix?
He's not from Phoenix originally, but he's lived here for about 6 years. He's much younger than I am because I'm successful. So that's
come on, don't say that.
Yeah, he's a real cutie pie, and he's a wonderful guy. So I'm very lucky.
When I met you other time in Puerto Vallarta, you are with Joy Pose as well.
Joe
right?
Posa.
Yeah, thank you.
Joe Posa, who was Joan's favorite Joan Rivers impersonator, and so we do shows together a lot. We did for many years. We did shows together while Joan was alive. Excuse me, with Joan's blessing. Joan was like, he's the best, I love him. And then after Joan passed, we did shows together because I could go out first and say I worked with Joan.
Since this is a Joan Rivers tribute show, why don't you play that song where they literally say the words, I can't feel my face. Right? It seemed appropriate. This is my friend Corey over here doing the interpreting tonight, so
Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you in San Francisco with some of your performances. I don't know, Joy Posa or in Puerto Vallarta.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. This was a pleasure. I think you're so terrific. So anything you ever need, I'm just one email away. I'll always be here for you.
Oh, thank you so much. Very sweet to say. Thank you so much, Tony. Tony Tripoli. Not Tripoli. Looking amazing.
Thank you.
Be safe, my friend.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.